Going to call the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for September 2024 to order. Welcome, everyone. The board sitting tonight to hear the cases, we have 8 cases before us tonight, is Member Steve Lianis, Member Monique Screenberry, Fire Chief Brian Nardelli, Member James Sweeney, and myself, Chair Kenneth Galligan. Our zoning enforcement officer and the building commissioner and the clerk to the zoning board is Mr. James Floor. Our recording secretary tonight is Monica Fagazzo. Order of operations tonight is, first of all, if anybody has a cell phone or electronic device, I would appreciate either you put it on silence or shut it off so that we don't disturb the meeting. If you need to use your cell phone, I would appreciate if you go out in the corridor for any conversations that you might need. I will tell you that tonight's meeting is being televised. It's live on TV tonight. I will tell you that the members, people in the audience tonight that are sitting over on that side over there, the TV camera is on that side of the room most of the night. So just a heads up. Prior to the start of the hearing tonight, is there anyone that would like to withdraw from tonight's meeting?
Mr. Chairman, we submitted a letter of withdrawal on number 4.
All right, petition number 2449 has been withdrawn prior to the start of the meeting without prejudice. So this case that I am going to read right now, if you are here for this case, it will not be heard tonight. I don't know when it will come back, but if it does, it would have to be re-advertised as a new case coming back before the board. That is the petition of Timothy Carney, trustee of Chilton Realty Trust, 50 Priscilla Road, Southeastern Mass, for a variance seeking relief from section 27(9) to construct a residential subdivision with 13 lots in an R1A zone located at Plot 97 Pleasant Street, which is located at the end of Braymore Road. So that case has been withdrawn prior to the start of the hearing. It will not be heard tonight. The order of the meeting is that when the case is called, the petitioner will come up to the podium and present the case to the board. This is a public meeting. Everybody in the room has a right to hear what's going on, so when you are at that podium, please speak up. When the petitioner has finished the presentation, I will then ask the board members if they have any questions relative to the testimony that they just heard, that was just given. When the board this is the time when the board member will be asking the petitioner any questions that the board may have relative to the testimony. At the end of that, when the board is complete, I will then I will open it up for public discussion. I will first ask if there is anyone here that wants to speak in favor of the petition. Secondly, I will ask if there's anyone that wants to speak in opposition. Thirdly, I will ask if there is any elected official in the room that wants to be heard on the issue. And lastly, I will ask if anyone has any questions relative to the testimony that was just given. At the end of that, that will conclude the public discussion. I will then open it up for deliberations, and deliberations are strictly between the 5 board members. The public discussion is done. At some point, you will probably hear one of the board members make a motion to grant. If that is seconded, I will then ask the clerk to call the roll, and every board member will reply either in the affirmative or the negative. If all 5 members vote in the affirmative, the petition will be granted. If the vote is 4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, the petition will be granted. Anything less than that is a denial. So if there's 3 in favor and 2 against, the petition will be denied. So I think that is all I want to say relative to that. other than to remind everybody that this meeting is live and being recorded. All right, board members, we all set to go? Yep, we're ready. All right, the first case tonight is petition 2446, the petition of Gerda Pierre Lewis, 83 Upland Road, Brockton, Mass. 02301, seeking relief from section 2749 for a special permit to allow a deck to be enlarged and an accessible ramp in an R2 zone located at 83 Upland Road. Please identify yourself. Could you speak just a little louder?
Sure.
Yeah, we're going to do a test run here. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yep.
So again, hello everyone. My name is Rebecca.
Yeah, you pressing that button?
Yeah.
Don't press the button.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's much better.
All right then. Oh, good afternoon again for the 5th time. My name is Rebecca. I'm here standing for the resident of 83 Upland Road. I'm here today to ask if we can enlarge our deck in the safety of my grandmother, who is soon to be 96, and due to a health issue will need the deck with a ramp for us to safely transfer her to her health appointments.
So you are requesting a handicap ramp?
Yes, sir. So our deck was originally broken, so we're trying to just refix it. Me personally, I already hurt myself going on the deck because it's been there for so long, and we have never really changed it. So now we're just trying to remodel it to make it safer and adding a ramp to just safely put her down. Oh, not safely, but just to rail her down with a wheelchair.
All right, the request here is for an enlargement of the front deck to install a wheelchair railing.
Yes.
The plans, as I saw them, was a set of stairs, not a handicap ramp.
So we're adding the stairs, but we're seeing if we can add the ramp. So I'm not really sure if we're being able to, but if we can, it'll be a good addition.
So where are you proposing to build this ramp?
So we was trying to see if we can put it like, on the side where our mailbox is, but due to the project being, stopped, we haven't really fully decided yet, if that makes sense.
All right, there's two things at work here. First of all, your request was for a set of stairs that go out on a Price Avenue. The problem was the stairs were going to be in the setback from the street. So you're asking relief to allow you to put a set of stairs in.
So, yeah, any way for us to just safely to come up and down from our front porch, because like I said, that's our front porch. Right now, we're going through the back door, which is hard for her because she has to go through 2 flights of stairs. But if we had the front door, she would just have to go to 1 flight of stairs. Like I said, she is about to be 96, and her legs are getting weaker, so...
Okay, I understand all that. So one of the issues that we have to deal with tonight is the location of the stairs.
Okay.
Right? Now, you're bringing up a new request here for a handicap ramp. I'm going to defer to the building inspector on this one. Can we put in a handicap ramp here on the front lawn without zoning board of approval?
That is correct. What you have in front of you is for the enlargement of the deck. A handicap ramp can go in front, it can go into the setbacks as of right.
That's what I thought. Okay. So that should not be an issue that we need to vote on tonight. The handicap ramp should be something that would be allowed.
Okay. So it's just...
Building inspector, I'm asking.
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So the deck that's on the front of the house, to me, that looked like a brand-new deck.
So we just started to change it to just fix it up now. So we had that deck, I think, about since 2004. We never did anything to it. So now, like I said, the woods are getting, older and everything. We haven't changed it for so long. So I just wanted to see if we can just change it up with more stronger material, obviously, for no one to, get hurt. because like I said, I already
So
got hurt.
You're upgrading a previously in place.
Yeah,
deck.
just refixing it, remodeling it.
So the issue before us tonight then is the location of the stairs.
Yes.
Okay. Obviously, you need to demonstrate to us a hardship of why the stairs have to go in that location. Can those stairs go in any other location?
Like I said, we did stop the project. If we need to be to relocate the stairs in a different location, then that's completely fine. Our main concern is just being able to transport my grandmother and other people to come down. So, yeah.
Gotcha. All right, board members, any questions?
So, I guess my only question is, if you put the ramp in, that's not going to impede where you're looking to put those stairs then, is it?
So like I said, we're still, you know what I mean, still figuring out the placement of things because we did stop the project. So when we are able to, you know, be able to start it again because we had the sign, we can probably figure it out. Like I said, we can place the stairs in a different location. It's just like right now, obviously, I have to see where to, like, you know, put it.
So, I'm just trying to understand, and this is not our purview, but for your, would you say your grandmother?
Yes, my
Your
grandmother.
Your 96-year-old grandmother. If you were to put the stairs someplace else, looking at the property, where would your thoughts be to put them, and how close would they be to where you have her car? I guess what I'm getting at is the reason you want to put the stairs here because it is the easiest place for your grandmother to be able to now get into the home. If you put them someplace else, is she going to have to walk further is what I'm getting at. I mean, they could come out towards the upland side, but there's not really, it's not close to the street. Would there be further construction? Would there be a walkway that would need to be put in? Are there?
So that, if I'm going to be completely honest, that's something I have to speak to my cousin who's starting the project.
Okay.
Because like I said, I'm sitting down there, I go to school and all that, so I'm not fully, you know what I mean? But
Understood.
like I said, if it is like a problem and we do have to figure it out, then we can make something work. But right now, we don't have a deck at all.
So I guess my question is, what was your decision to put the stairs where you
So
have
at
them on
first,
here?
because when we originally brought the house, the stairs was in the middle where the, you know, just walking right in, the door's right there. So we assumed like, okay, you know, it's our first time remodeling. That's why we're all here today. So we assumed like, okay, maybe we can leave it the way it was. And then all of this happened. So we can probably put it to the side because my car is right here and the stairs is right there and the door is right here. So it'll be easy if I could just transport her. But like I said, it's something that I have to speak to my cousin regarding more.
So it would, where you're looking to put these stairs is what you would consider the easiest way to get your grandmother into the home?
I would say probably to the side closer, probably, or maybe, like I said, in the
I
front.
want to make a suggestion here, that the stairs right now are going out to Price Avenue.
Correct.
There is a good option here to make the stairs parallel to Price Avenue up against the house. And
Correct.
that would take the stairs away from the street. I'm afraid that somebody's going to step off the end of that stairs and they're going to be right out in the street.
Okay.
So the option, as I see it, is to swing the stair to the end of the ramp and run it parallel to the house.
And that's fine. Like I said, any type of suggestion, I just want to be able to do it safely and getting the, you know, the approval of the city. So anything that can work with this, anything that can help with us in the city, then we're all open for suggestions.
So just for my own, if I could, Chair, just to ask the building commissioner, if she was to go in that direction, do you know about what that setback would be? Would she be okay there? Because it's still in line with where the deck would be. Would she be all right in that spot?
It does not meet the required setbacks, but it would be within a foot or two, I think. I
Understood.
think you'd be okay if it's against the house there, it'd
Yeah.
be further enough away
Okay.
from this.
Okay, all right.
All right, and just to end the conversation, just realize that if you're going to put in a handicap ramp, you're going to have to deal with the building inspector.
Okay.
And there is parts of the law that will allow that without us interfering, so you're going to have to deal with the building inspector on that part.
Okay.
So what we're dealing with tonight is the stairs, and we're making a suggestion to shift the stairs to the side of the house so you're not walking right out into the street.
Okay.
Okay, board members, everybody good? I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given tonight? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. I'll now open it up for board member deliberations. Board members.
I think it's a reasonable request, very minimal relief. Motion to approve.
Second.
So what we're approving is the new location of the stairway to be parallel to the house.
Well, so on the motion, do we have to make a stipulation, because that's not where they're placed here? Do we have to make a stipulation as to where we're advising her to put them in a place? It's still not conforming, but we could, if we vote this, the stairs could go right where they are now, where we don't agree with. The woman in front of us tonight is suggesting that she would like to work with the process and move them over. They still wouldn't be in a conformed position, but she would still technically need a variance. So my point is, do we need to make a stipulation, or maybe to the commissioner, can we make a stipulation that she will move them over next to the house towards the paved area parallel with the home?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that is appropriate to make a stipulation.
So in either case, she needs a variance for the location of the stairs.
Correct.
What we are approving is her agreeing with the board that it would be a much safer location to put the stairs parallel to the house rather than walking out in the street. So we're voting on the new location of the stairs. Motion's been made and seconded. The clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Chair, is that with the stipulation of the new location?
Yes, with that stipulation, that's correct.
Ms. Delanus?
Yes.
Chief Nardelli?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry?
Yes.
Chair Galligan?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The new location for the stairs is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just as a heads up, your petition has been approved, so if you want to leave, you're all set to leave.
I don't know.
Right, the next petition is 2447, the petition of Stephanie McAuliffe Bennett, 170 Rric Street, Brockton, Mass., seeking relief from Section 2720 for a special permit to install a white vinyl fence for privacy in an R1C zone located at 170 Rric Street.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Zoning Board, my name is Attorney Jim Burke. I have offices at 48 North Pearl Street, Brockton, Massachusetts. I did not file the application on behalf of Stephanie, but she asked that I assist, and I'm happy to do that. This is a matter where the family lives on Rric Street, a good residential street in Brockton, fairly busy. They traditionally had a fence. It was a chain link fence. They sought, because of their new one-year-old granddaughter who now resides at the property, to try to get some more privacy and construct a fence. They hired a contractor. There is some question whether or not a permit is needed, if it's a replacement or whether it's a new fence, but nonetheless, it appears that the fence, when constructed now, exceeds the maximum height by a foot. They are here. It's an aesthetic issue. It is one in which they are seeking a special permit by nature of what the requested relief is. And they have reached out to the local neighbors. Where'd you go? Stephanie, come on. You got them all? Just get them together. She reached out to her neighbors across the street, left and right, all of which are in favor and supportive of the request. So it's certainly unfortunate, but the way it is developed, it would be a substantial economic hardship on them at this point to have to take the fence down, pay for a 7-foot fence, and then get a brand-new 6-foot fence that would conform. So they're asking your request for your relief, and with the permission of the chairperson, I'll give the clerk some letters of support that she prepared.
Yeah, you can take those. So the question now, is this a variance or special permit?
And they'd be more than happy to try to answer any questions that you have.
I have one. Looking at the pictures now, and when I drove by there the other day,
The pictures?
I don't remember what it looked like.
I'm going to get you the picture.
Oh, no, I have them right here.
If I can.
Hold
sorry.
on just 1 second,
Yes.
please.
Give me the one in the backyard. That's it.
This is from the.
This is here.
It's behind here,
Yeah.
That's the back.
So are we still talking variance? Special permit, then we'll take it from there. But I'm going to consider the cement wall too. All right, very good. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the chief fire chief would request some pictures, and I'll send that to the clerk.
Thank you.
To just give the visual impact.
So I guess I have some of them here, and I drove by it the other day. I guess my question is,
Yeah, pass this down.
it looks like the pictures that were submitted were pictures that were taken traffic-wise and such. It looks like there was, and I don't know if this was the case before this was done, I guess that's my question. Was this small 1.5, 2-foot wall already on the down that they built this fence on top of?
The wall was already there.
Okay, so you had now an 8-foot fence that's really, the fencing is 6 feet, but the wall makes the difference. Is that what I'm kind of getting at?
Right.
I didn't get out with a tape measure. That's why I'm asking.
Yes.
Cut the 6-foot fence down.
Yep.
The
And-
6-foot fence was cut down, so it's not quite 8, but it is about a
So-
good 6 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I was just curious, because I think that chain link fence was on top of that before as well, correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Absolutely.
right,
It was a
thank you.
replacement. You're right.
Appreciate it.
I have observed photos where their wall was not there and the chain link fence was at grade level. So there's a little bit of misunderstanding here as to when this cement wall was constructed. So there's, relative to the fences, let me just see if I can make this clear.
Concrete walls.
So the reason why I put the concrete, okay, sir, the reason why I put the concrete wall is because I wanted to hide the brick. I just wanted to give me a fresh look.
Okay, I understand
Okay.
that. So I just want to make it clear that when the chain link fence was there, it was at grade level, at the level of the sidewalk. Now,
No, it was a little higher.
But not as
All right.
easy.
Not as high as the way it is now, but it was up.
okay, there's two issues that we need to kind of consider here tonight relative to fences. One is the original fence ordinance that has been on the books for a number of years, that was put on the books specifically for site visibility at intersections. And this section draws a triangle of 20 feet back on one street, 20 feet back on the other street, and then a line that creates the triangle. The ordinance says that there can be no obstructions that will violate a motorist with visibility as they approach the intersection to look left and right. Now, it could be a fence, it could be a wall, it could be shrubbery, anything that impedes vision of a driver.
But those photos,
Let me finish.
let him go. Let him finish.
When I went there and looked at that, it appears to me that that section of the ordinance that creates the triangle for visibility with the rounding of the corner does not cause a problem for the visibility. The stop line is quite a bit back from the intersection, which plays into the visibility of it. But as far as the ordinance is concerned, creating that triangle appears to be that you appear to be okay on that. The second fence ordinance is the one that has just recently been voted in. And it specifically says that the fence can only be so high in the front of the house and then so many feet on the side of the house. 4 feet in the front of the house, 4 feet, I think it's 10 feet back, and then goes to 6 feet for the rest of the distance. So now, the intent of what has happened here in your case is that you have exceeded the height of the fence by putting the fence on top of a wall. If that fence was 6 feet from the grade of the grass or the sidewalk, you would be, 4 feet, I should say, from the sidewalk, you'd be in compliance. By putting the fence on top of the wall, we are now much higher than what the intent was for this ordinance. So that's how I am looking at it.
Well, the fence is not on top of the wall. I just built the fence around it.
For the protection for the corner.
I did that so cars doesn't go into my yard.
That has happened once before.
What is on the back side, on the house side of this wall that I see on Rric Street on the front of the house? What's behind that? Earth?
Dirt.
Or is it a wall? I mean, can you see the wall from the house side, or what are you looking at on that side?
On the back of the house? Oh, there's nothing in the back of the
fence.
house. Huh? The fence is all the way around the property, but in the back of the yard, there's nothing on it.
I'm not talking the back of the yard. I'm talking the back of this wall that you constructed on the corner of Hillberg Avenue and Rric Street. The wall that was constructed on the street side, it appears to be a wall about 2 feet high.
Okay.
The question is, on the house side of that wall, is it also 2 feet high on that side? Or thereabouts?
I think it is.
On,
This is not a retaining wall that is holding back any earth. Am I correct?
No, it's up.
in the front, yes. In the front, yes. On the side, no.
All right, so the issue here is the ordinance says that the fence in front of the house can be no higher than 4 feet. The side fence can be no more than 6 feet. I think we all agree in that. The problem now is created by the building of a cement wall and putting a fence on top of the cement wall, which now has totally violated the intent of the ordinance to keep the fence no more than 4 feet high in front of the house. That's how I see it.
Okay.
But the wall is there for safety.
Please speak into the microphone.
The intent of the cement wall is for safety, being that we're on the corner. And when we had the chain link fence, someone did run into that chain link fence a few years back. So being on the corner, high traffic, we did put the cement wall for safety.
Very good. So now it would appear that the wall creates 2 feet of height. If you put a fence on top of the wall, 2 feet high, now you would be in compliance with what the city ordinance says, that it's no more than 4 feet. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else to add to that?
Well,
we're good.
Everybody's good? Okay.
We are good.
Board members, any questions, any comments? All right, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Yes, when I say in favor, I'm saying in favor of allowing the fence as it exists today. If not, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Councilor.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. I'm Phil Griff. I'm the Ward 3 City Councilor. I was approached by the Bennetts about this situation. It is indeed unfortunate they didn't know the rules when they did construct the fence on top of the wall. However, they are just trying to make their property a little safer for their young grandchildren that are there. I don't really see any type of traffic impediment with it, so I ask you respectfully to grant this to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that has a question on any of the testimony that has been given tonight? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. I'll now open it up for the board deliberations. Board members.
I just, point of conduct, are we voting on a special permit then, or are we voting on a variance?
Right now, it's a special permit.
Okay.
Yeah, my major concern was addressed, which was the setback and the visibility at the intersection, even though it is a four-way. So.
So your comment is that you think that the fence as it exists is okay?
I do. If the line of sight, the traffic would have come first in this case, but since you can see, I don't think they're making the intersection worse. We obviously want to make our intersection safer, but by being out of that line of sight, I don't have an issue with it.
Make a motion to grant?
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to grant the fence to allow it to stay in its present location. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative.
Vote is 4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. The petition has been granted.
Thank you.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, the next petition is 2448, the petition of 166 East Ashland Street, LLC, 76 Wynn Street, Woburn, Mass., seeking relief from Section 2732 and 2736, subsection 6, and Section 2748 for a special permit to construct and operate a commercial parking equipment and container storage facility in a C7 zone located at 166 East Ashland Street.
Mr. Chairman, members of the zoning board, my name is Jim Burke. I'm attorney at law with offices at 48 North Pearl Street in Brockton, and I have the pleasure to represent 166 East Ashland Street, LLC. For members of the board, and I think there are a number of them, I previously was before this board for this location a few years back and presented a request for a variance to secure contractor's bay on the property, and ultimately that was in fact granted. They were not built largely because of the reason we're here today, which is the impacts of the flood zone in that specific area. But by history, this specific site, as I previously mentioned in the prior hearings, is a central point in which you have various zones: industrial, C2, residential, and multi-residential. It is a piece of property that is directly against the stream that impacts the ability to construct. So the net effect was, in order to get a useful reuse of the specific property, it was determined with the assistance of Scott Farrier, who's here, J.K. Holmgren, that the best and highest utilization of the property would be for truck and container storage. In order to not make the impacts on the floodplain any greater than they are. The asphalt that is currently there and has been there will stay. The rest of the area will be graded and will be gravelled. So as a result, there's actually not going to be any real construction within the floodplain itself. So this is actually a soft use. It is a softer use than was previously approved, the contractor bays. There'll be considerably less impact on the neighborhood in terms of traffic and storage. And in reality, this is probably it of what you can do with this specific property, which is somewhat unique and I would say not the easiest to develop. Scott? Be my guest. Okay.
As Attorney Burke said, a portion of the site, which I have shaded in gray, is existing both bituminous pavement and concrete from its previous use as a garage. In fact, I believe it was a DPW garage. So that area will remain as it is currently paved. And then the remaining land will be gravel. I've shown the flood zone on this plan in green just to give you an idea of how much the property is in the flood zone. So as Attorney Burke said, the area within the flood zone, there'll be no change to grade at all, so we don't have to worry about the compensatory flood storage that we discussed at our last meeting on another property. There'll be no flood zone work. The work itself will still require Conservation Commission approval, just for whatever work we'll be doing within the 100-foot buffer zone. So we will have a conservation hearing as well, once everything is done.
So I guess in closing, you're all familiar with the property, I'm aware. National Grid is right next door, and there are some strong heavy uses. There is across the street, there is industrial use and impact. We think this is the best utilization of the property. It is less impactful on the neighborhood, and we think it's going to be an ability to get some real property back on the tax rolls improved as a construction site. Thank you.
Why are you asking for a special permit?
Because of the floodplain.
This is zone C7. If you remember, this was developed for recreation purposes with the possibility of a stadium going in there. And it is, as far as I know, it is still zone C7. So it would appear that you should be also asking for a variance.
You're right, Chief. In fact, if you look at my brief, I am asking for a variance. It appears that the box wasn't checked properly. But as I indicated within the brief that's before the board, we were in fact requesting a petition for variance and special permit. So it is a Scrivener's error.
Well, that Scrivener's error is now going to require a hardship.
Great. So the hardship, as we identified, is in fact that you have a site that was originally created in a C7 zone. It's widely been identified by the city that the zone was mischaracterized for the specific property because they absolutely couldn't find any utilization as a C7. It's absolutely impossible to build a C7 because of the recreation requirements of the sports and convention complex zone in 2001. Its distance from Route 24 makes it absolutely impractical for commercial purposes. The surrounding confluence of industrial, residential, and commercial leads it as such that it creates a use that it requires a variance because there is no specific allowed uses under a C7 zone that can be made on this specific property. So whatever goes there, it requires a variance. There's also the impacts of the abutting Trout Brook, which has a significant impact on the ability to develop the property because of the impacts not only of floodplain zone, but the Rivers Act. And that is the impact of the variance from my perspective.
So can I ask, what exactly will be stored here? Is there a plan for what's going to be stored here? The people that are building this, will they be the ones storing their own equipment here? I guess, as the fire chief, my concerns are this is a massive piece of property. There are no hydrants out there. What is going to be, am I looking at hard steel out there? Am I looking at hard steel with stuff in it? Am I looking at hard steel with fuels in it? Am I looking at?
I believe it's empty containers, Chief.
All of it.
That's my understanding, yes.
And there'll be, I guess my next question to that then is this. There will never be an instance, and we'll probably have to stipulate this, that you will have a container in there that will have any construction debris, trash, recyclables, anything to that effect, meaning they will always be empty. Okay.
That's the intent, as I understand it.
Okay.
Chief.
All right, so we're going to look at that in the discussion, because that's, you have to understand, that's my deepest concern. I have container after container after container at 3 a.m., and I arrive and I have to use 3 fire trucks just to get hose to the depth of where these containers are at that back corner up towards where the BFI transfer station is on Mulberry.
I think Attorney Burke and I have worked on a couple of these in different towns. And typically the way it goes, the trailer is empty. You pick it up with your truck in the morning, go to the warehouse, load it up, make your deliveries, drop it back off at night for just safe storage, and do it again tomorrow. So they're completely empty every single night.
Are these all individual owners, or will it be one company, like one major trucking company?
Yeah, there's,
do we not know?
They don't know for sure, but typically there's a few different, a few different owners, a few different trucking outfits. Usually there's not just one that needs 350 spaces.
Okay.
So typically it's
Do we
a few of them.
Do we know what the hours of operation are going to be with this piece of property? Although it is zoned on that other side, and that's what we're going to be dealing with, there are a whole lot of homes on the other side of East Ashland Street. We can't have trucks bombing out of there and bombing in there at 7 p.m. at night and bombing out at 5 a.m. when people are leaving. We got to look at that. Do we know any of that yet?
Well, I think I don't think that the owners will have a problem with reasonable hours of operation.
Understood.
You know, something like 7 to 7 in the morning, or 6 to 7.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could, so is this going to be something that's going to be running constantly throughout the day, or is it, in the morning they pick it up and then we don't see them again until almost the end of business?
Twice a day.
More often than not.
Okay.
Twice a day, usually.
And there's what, roughly 300 spots, something like that?
Yes, there's 230 total,
Okay.
Mr. Sweeney. About 170 trailers and then 50 smaller trucks.
Do you anticipate all of them leaving for the day and coming back?
I wouldn't say all of them, no.
Scott and I have worked on a few of these. These are in great demand, by the way. This specific request is in very big demand because of the lack of available space. We basically found that the vast majority of them stay idle, that they're there and they're certainly not moved on a daily basis. Yeah.
Okay, just for the traffic impacts for the neighborhood and basically that whole side of the city.
I think realistically, you'll never see 250 trucks leaving at 6 a.m.
Okay.
And 250 coming back at 5 p.m. It just doesn't happen.
All right, thank you.
It says here you're going to have 47 truck parking spaces. What do you call a truck? 18-wheeler?
It would be the actual truck part of
The cab.
tracks, right, exactly, the cab of the truck.
So when you're saying truck parking, you're talking the tractor of a tractor-trailer unit.
Correct.
Okay, now these 187 container spaces, what's in a container space? Are we talking dumpsters?
No, I think probably on my plan, I refer to them as trailers. I think Attorney Burke referred to them as containers, but they're essentially empty trailers from a truck.
Tractor trailers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Tractor, just the trailer.
Yep, just the trailer. Empty trailers from a tractor trailer unit.
Overnight storage for the truck.
Will they be wheeled, or will they be like, so they won't be containers, they'll have wheels, they'll be dump
Exactly.
trucks?
Yep.
Dump
Yep.
trailers.
So pick it up and take it out in the morning.
So at this point, we've determined that there may be multiple companies that will be operating out of this location. My concern is what oversight are we going to have if somebody is bringing in a trailer loaded with debris to be parked overnight to be removed the next morning?
We won't.
That's an issue.
We'll make stipulations that that won't happen.
The other issue is you're showing the spaces between these parking spaces that are 12 by 45 feet. And the aisle space between all of these is 24 feet. I don't know how you're going to get a tractor trailer 45 feet long in a 24 travel space.
Agreed, there's definitely movement of truck needed to get another truck out, so you might have to move 2 trucks and circle around to get another trailer out. So I think as Attorney Burke said, there's a large instance is long-term storage of the empty trailer. So they're not necessarily moving every single day.
And these could be closed or open containers.
I think they're all closed.
Yeah, they're all closed.
So we don't know what's in these trailers.
Well, again, they're empty. You pick it up,
Supposed to be empty. Okay, let's,
yes.
that's just, can you explain to me what you're going to have here for security? If this shuts down at 7 o'clock at night, what happens between 7 at night and 7 in the morning? What happens? Is it a closed, gated facility? Or is it open?
Can make it a closed gated facility if that's
But again, typically,
condition of the board.
Typically, it's not gated. Usually a few lights spaced throughout the property just for security reason, but typically it's not gated. It's not a high crime.
So that leads me into my next question is what are you going to do for lighting for security for this place?
So at some point, as we get going on the site plan part of it, we would have a lighting plan, but we will have down-facing lights, not nearly as bright as a typical parking lot, just for security reasons.
You're talking an 8-foot fence, so you should be asking for a variance for relief on the fence height. What happens to the drainage of this facility where there is going to be a minimum amount of blacktop and most of it is going to be unpaved dirt parking lot, which again is contrary to the ordinances that says that it has to be paved. You're saying it's going to be dirt. What happens to water runoff from this relative to the river, which is adjacent to it?
We still have to do drainage calculations and do something to accommodate the runoff. There is a certain amount of runoff, even with a gravel parking lot as opposed to a paved parking lot. There is still runoff, a greater amount of runoff than there would be if it was left in its current state. So we still need to do some drainage. The property does grade across the property towards the river, so there will be a drainage facility that we have proposed underneath the existing paved area. So it won't be as extensive as a typical parking lot with catch basins and manholes every 300 feet, but there will be a closed drainage system that gets piped into the infiltration system, like any other site.
Okay, what are you going to do when we get prolonged dry weather with these trucks coming and going on a dirt parking lot relative to dust and everything that will be impacting the residential neighborhood?
Yeah, it's really not dirt, it's the millings that, again, we don't have them in Brockton too often, although there are a few sites, but if you go to other towns, it's millings, and realistically, once they're down there for a small amount of time, it becomes pretty well packed, and it does not create any dust with these millings. They become really hard packed. They do allow some infiltration from water, but there is no dust associated with them.
These 47 trucks that will be leaving this facility at various times throughout the day, do you have any idea at all what the truck route might be when these trucks leave this facility?
No idea.
I will just make a comment that basically, in every direction that you leave, you're going through residential neighborhoods.
Agreed.
I think we can agree to that. All right, there's a number of things here that we're hearing tonight for the first time. And we all agree that this is a variance. It's not allowed in here only by variance.
All right, yes.
Board members, any other questions? or
I guess
comments?
this would be subject to site plan approval for the planning board, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, it says it has to go through site plan. Board members, you all set? Okay, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Please come forward. Give your name to the clerk.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lisa Crowley, and I live at 250 Howard Street, which is a few miles up from East Ashland. I would urge the board to oppose this change. I disagree with some of the statements that the C7 project couldn't be done. If you go to Fennel Drive in Weymouth, it is rocking and rolling over there with kids up and down the street with a number of commercial and industrial businesses along with it. I just don't think there's any will or creativity to do it because something like this is very easy to do. I agree with Mr. Galligan regarding the trucks, 40 trucks on East Ashland, whipping around, North Carey Street, is going to cause more traffic than we already have. The dust and the noise from such a project will be a nuisance to the nearby residents. They may not even be aware that this is happening. I would also suggest that you continue this. Maybe they do. Maybe they think it's the greatest thing in the world. The other thing I would add on are the beeping of those trucks as they back up and hitch it. Beep, 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 beep. 7 in the morning till 7 at night, and they claim that it's not going to be busy, but I would disagree. I've seen numbers of them all over the place from Route 138, 106, all the way into Quincy. The other thing is, I also disagree that the distance for the C7 sports complex, if it's so far away from 24, why are these trucks going through all of these neighborhoods to get there? I think that probably adds up for everything I would be opposed to. I would urge you to really, really consider this and be against it. Thank you. It's a big change. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to clarify, you are a concerned citizen, not a direct abutter.
Correct.
Correct. Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that would like to be heard on the issue? Can't hear me? Is there any elected official that would like to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given tonight? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. I will now open it up for discussion among board members. Board members.
Mr. Chairman, could I just add one other thing before it gets to the chair?
I'll allow that.
Thank you very much. I think the board already is aware because we've been here before. The city actually acquired this property for purposes of the C7 industrial zone. They couldn't get anyone to take it. The net effect is they wound up having to sell it at auction because they absolutely couldn't find any user for the C7 zone, which leads us here today. Thanks.
Thank you. Board members, deliberations.
I would, obviously, there's some stipulations, I think, obviously, we need to put on it that are pretty clear with me in regards to making sure that all those containers are empty at all times when they're on the property. I think, unlike maybe where other places that these went in, we got to make sure there's people staying out of there. All those kids that one of the concerned residents spoke of, I don't want them in that yard after hours. I think I look at this as a project that I think we're right. We passed to be able to put storage containers there however long ago. I think one of the things we got to consider is that was a DPW hub many years ago with buildings and trucks going in and out of. We've had a number of people that have come before this board in the last many months discussing putting houses on that property, putting other buildings on that property. It is a large piece of land that can't be used for a lot of other things. I think if something is not done, we will sit, in that piece of property will sit for years and become overrun. You drive by there now, you see a couple of pieces of construction equipment on there. I think they were clearing where that other gravel is put down now, but that is sat idle for a long time. I think you do have a piece of land that can be utilized for something. It might not be perfect for what everyone wants, but I think if we set time limits on when those vehicles can be entering and exiting, if we put safety precautions on that they will always be empty, because I think, like the point I made earlier, that I have a serious concern of having, to lay out 5 engines just to get to the back of this property because there's something burning back there. Security is obviously an issue. Lighting is obviously an issue. But I think my opinion of this and what is there now, and we got to look at this, that we still need to find a useful thing for this property. I think this might be the only thing. That's just my ball of wax.
I would, if we had this wonderful use that came in, but we've been struggling to find a use, I would agree with you, Chief. Motion to approve.
Second.
On the motion, I would like to speak a little bit on the motion before we finally close this out. Is there anybody else that wants to speak on the issue?
I'm just concerned with the amount of trailers in this space. I'm concerned for the abutters that are there. I don't think the mitigation of vegetation here is going to be enough. I feel like it should be fenced, facing those residents, and have some type of buffer to buffer the sound with vegetation as well. So those are my main concerns. I just, not having this fenced in is giving me like security concerns of what could happen in between these trailers.
I think it's going to be fenced, but it's not going to be secure the way they describe it. When I asked the question, is there a gate, it appeared as though the answer was there was no gate.
Oh, okay.
So it would appear that whoever is going to be parking trucks or trailers on this location can basically come and go as they please. However, at this point, we have put no stipulations on anything here, okay? A couple of concerns that I have. This was, years ago, a repair garage. I believe Totkus's garage was in there 40, 50 years ago. I remember seeing it up there. At one point, the DPW, I believe, used it for a salt storage area. But it wasn't a DPW facility. It was just a piece of land that was used. So here we have a piece of property that was designed for a sports complex which never developed, and now it continues to be a zoned sports complex area. It is surrounded by commercial, industrial, and residential. It all comes to an apex, all at this location. I think the question for the board tonight, is this the best use of that property? Because they are asking to use this piece of property for something that it is not zoned to be used for. My concern is several. One, I am concerned with the lack of security at this place, where anybody at any point can come and go if there is no secure gated entrance into this building. It sounds like there is not. There is a city ordinance that says in a parking area, it has to be paved. You have to ask for relief from pavement. In this case, they want to not pave, they want to leave it as dirt. My concern is at this time of year, as we're going through a couple of weeks here with no rain, with that volume of trucks coming and going every day, I can just imagine the amount of dust that's going to come out of this place. They were talking tonight about some kind of asphalt, ground asphalt that can be used as a pavement cover. I think that's up to probably the city engineer to determine whether or not that is acceptable. There is no plan for lighting at this place. They told us tonight that if this was approved, they would do something about doing some lighting up there. With these trucks backing up with the backup alarms, making connections to the trailers, there's going to be a considerable amount of noise that is going to come out of this facility. This facility is really a trucking location that in my opinion, as one board member, belongs in an industrial area. We're in pretty much a residential area, and when I asked the question about all the roads leading out of this area, I think we were all in agreement that every one of these roads is going to lead through a residential area. If trucks come out of here and they're going to head to Route 24, they've got to go up East Ashon Street. If you're lucky, they'll go up North Montello Street to Avon and catch 24 that way. There is a problem down there right now that trucks coming to other facilities in that area that are using Pleasant Street, Prospect Street, Cherry Street, West Ashland Street, Battle Street, all going through residential neighborhoods. I have a concern that with the volume of trucks that are going to be going in and out of this place through residential neighborhoods, it's going to be totally unacceptable. I think the use of this probably would fit in an industrial park. I don't believe that it fits in this location. So those were some of the concerns that I had. They can tell us that these trucks are going to be empty when they arrive, but there is absolutely nobody that is going to check these trucks to make sure that they're empty when they go in there. So at night, when there is nobody in there, if there should be a fire in this place, how will the fire department ever know what they're dealing with? When you think you may be dealing with an empty trailer, when in fact you've got a trailer full of whatever. And I think the fire chief brought out a good point too, that the water supply for the backside of this is non-existent. The other plan that we approved was for garages where craftsmen could rent locations, and it was kind of a more of a business opportunity rather than a trucking situation as we see tonight. I thought that one fit pretty good. However, I guess financially it didn't work out. So here we are tonight looking for another use for this property. And just for discussion among the board members, as we all do here, I have real serious concerns that this is not the right use for this property. There's probably going to be another use for this property. And if the city rezoned this from whatever it was to C7, certainly the elected officials in the city have the opportunity to determine what they want to do with this property and rezone it for what the city would like to see down there. I'll just conclude my remarks by saying I don't think this is the best use for this property, and the hardship that was shown tonight, I really don't think there was a strong hardship. That's all I got to say. Anybody else? Everybody's good? So we have a motion on the floor to approve, and it was seconded. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. So now let's have the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Lanus.
No.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
No.
Ms. Greenberry.
No.
Chair Galligan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 1 in the affirmative, 4 in the negative.
The vote is 1 in the affirmative, 4 in the negative. The petition as presented is denied.
Thank the board for its time.
All right, the next petition is 2449, which was the Plot 97 Pleasant Street, which was withdrawn. The next one is 2450, the petition of Kevin Jones Jr., 15 Colin Road, Brockton, Mass., seeking relief from Section 27-9 and 2713A to subdivide the lot and construct a new single-family home on 2 newly created lots in an R1B zone located at 15 Colin Road.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Chris Vale on behalf of the petitioner Kevin Jones. Along with me is Scott Ferrier from J.K. Holmgren Engineering. As you heard, this is a petition to the Board of Appeals seeking a variance under Article 3, Sections 27-9 and 2713A to subdivide Plot 14 to create 2 new lots, Lot A and B as shown on the attached plans. Lot A would have a newly constructed single-family home, and Lot B would have the existing single-family home upon the 2 newly created lots. To do so, the petitioner is seeking relief from the lot's frontage, lot area, width, and setback requirements. Some facts particular to this project is Plot 14 is located at 15 Colin Road here in the city, in which Mr. Jones acquired the property in 2005. As shown on the deed description attached, Plot 14 was formerly known as East Terrace and consisted of 3 lots numbered 39, 40, and 41, which eventually merged into the now existing large lot. Plot 14 is in an R1B zone where the property is located off of Pleasant Street near Route 24 highway. In addition, Mr. Jones has brought this project to the City of Brockton Planning Board, which was approved for the proposed definitive subdivision plan, I believe a few weeks ago, in which subsequently I have recorded these 2 lots with the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds, if I could approach.
Yep.
But Mr. Jones will subdivide this lot into 2 lots, like I said, as shown as Lot A and B. Lot A would consist of the newly constructed single-family home, which will have 7,000 square feet of lot area with 70 feet of frontage. Lot A will meet all the front, side, and rear setback requirements. In regards to Lot B, it will consist of the existing single-family home. It will have 8,000 square feet, 80 feet of frontage, and will meet the rear setback requirement. The front setback will consist of 28.3 feet, and the side setback will consist of 8.9 feet. However, these setbacks are already pre-existing and non-conforming. The property location does have a unique larger shape, as shown on the plan compared to abutters. The 2 new proposed lots are equal or greater in size than other existing lots in the community. Lastly, Mr. Jones has shown these plans to his neighbors, to which they all have endorsed his project by writing letters of approval that I shared with the board, which I've attached. I believe there's about 10 letters. In regards to the hardship in the present case, Mr. Jones has historically believed that he always had an abutting buildable vacant lot, with the lot being made up of these 3 historical lots from the East Terrace plan. The lot size is larger than most, if not all, lots in the neighborhood. As well, in addition, Mr. Jones has struggled with maintaining the lot, as it has become a dumping site of trash and debris onto his property. So for all these reasons, we are asking the board to grant the application.
Real quick, Mr. Vale, what's the hardship?
Like I said, with the hardship is that he did believe that they were all buildable lot when it was 3 separate lots in that historic East Terrace, as well as the lot size. And in addition, with the fact that maintaining it, it's become a dumping site with trash and debris.
And this is a lot that was created by the planning board, and that's the deed for it?
It is. It was approved, I believe, last week. And then I did record those deeds this morning.
So what do you, I guess I'm curious, as to what are you asking for the variance for?
The variance would be for 2 lots, Lot A, the square foot lot area, as well as in Lot B, the setbacks which are already pre-existing and non-conforming.
Okay. Correct me if I'm, I'll talk about it, when we talk later. I'm all set.
All right, this location has been before us in the past, and a request was for a separate lot, which would be the north end of the lot, and it was denied. It went to court, and actually kind of a landmark decision was made on this piece of property that the deed for this property, when the petitioner purchased this property, was described in one set of mets and bounds, which was 300 by 100. So in fact, when the petitioner purchased this property, he knew or should have known that he was buying one piece of property that was 100 by 300. An old set of plans that shows demarcation of those three lots is not the controlling factor as to determine the lot. So it was determined that it was one lot. Now, what's before us tonight is a petition to divide that lot into two lots. So what was thought to be three lots, that was not three lots, was one lot, is now being requested to be divided into two lots.
Technically, I believe it is two lots now. We did record, so there are two lots now,
Okay,
individual.
so now we got somewhat of a problem here, because you have a lot that is vacant, that is a lot, but is not a buildable lot without a variance.
And that's why we're here today.
That's correct. Now, by taking land and dividing it from what was there, the original house right now, the lot that house sits on, is now a much smaller lot than it was prior to this request.
Which is why we're looking for the variance for that lot as well.
So there's two variances at work here. One is to diminish the size of the lot that the house currently sits on, and another request for a variance to create or to allow the construction of a house on a newly created lot.
Correct.
I am very familiar with the area, and I will say that when I travel on Colin Road, that is probably one of the neatest lots in the neighborhood. So I don't know where this idea comes from that is strewn with debris and rubbish or whatever. I don't know who keeps track of what's going on up there, but I'll tell you, it's a very nice neighborhood. The lots are very well kept up there. So, again, just for clarification, it was determined that this is one lot, and that's why you're here tonight. Just for the edification of the board, it's a request now to divide the lot to allow for the construction of a house on an undersized lot. And by creating a deed for that lot, you now have created that lot, but it is not buildable without a variance.
And
We all
correct,
understand that? Yeah.
Correct.
correct me if I'm wrong, the non-conforming now becomes not non-conforming, correct? Because it was previously a non-conforming lot.
The way to look at it is the lot as it exists, which was 300 by 100 with a house on it, is a lot that existed. We are now, in one case, making that lot more non-conforming.
Yeah.
The lot that the house sits on is one lot, and it's 300 by 100. By dividing the lot, we are now taking that house that is sitting on that one lot, putting it on a smaller lot. So just be aware of that, that's what's happening.
I guess we did on planning, did divide that for the, to be buildable, so. And this has happened within a week.
I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Chair. So again, on planning, we did approve that for the purpose of building. to make it a buildable lot. So I guess that's my only point with that.
Do you remember why the planning board allowed that? Why, what their rationale was to allow that to be subdivided?
I guess the consensus was they felt it was sufficient to build.
Okay. All right, board members, any other questions? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? I will say that we have received a number of letters from what appears to be abutters of the property, and I believe I have 9 letters here in support.
Correct, I believe maybe 10.
I think there's 10, but one's a double.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay. So is there anyone that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the audience tonight that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That will conclude the public discussion. I'll now open it up for deliberation by board members. Board members.
The 2 proposed lots are still bigger than most of the lots in that neighborhood.
I can't hear you.
I said the 2 proposed lots are bigger than most of the lots in that neighborhood, even though they're still not, I mean, it would still fit the neighborhood.
I would agree with you.
And
I think that's why we allowed it to be a buildable lot.
yeah, and most of the abutters are, seem to be supporting this too, so I don't have an issue with this.
On the plan for that neighborhood up there, you're going to see a lot of 50-foot lots. I do believe a lot of those have been combined over the years, so they have 100-foot frontages. So from the original plan of the 1800s, it has changed somewhat, so just be aware of that.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded to approve. Will the clerk please, what we're voting on tonight? We are voting to grant a variance to allow for the construction of a house on a newly created lot, and we're also granting a variance for the existing house to remain on an undersized lot from what the lot was. That's what we are voting on.
We taking 2 votes?
No, I think you can combine them. I mean, it's all one piece of property. If you deny one, the other one's dead. Just for discussion purposes, I think you got to consider what the hardship is here. And when you look at what the hardship is under Chapter 40A and under our Chapter 27, I think you got to consider all that. So we now have made a motion to grant and to second, so the clerk will please call the roll.
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nadelli.
No.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 3 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative.
The vote is 3 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. The petition is denied.
Sorry. Thank you.
You want to take these? Okay, the next petition, 2451, the petition of Fenton Associates, LLC, and With Area, LLC, 135 Elliot Street, Brockton, Mass., seeking relief from Article 3, Section 2713A and 2711, Table 3, for a variance to construct 3 residential units on Lot B as well as seeking relief for Lot C and Lot A to construct a three-family dwelling in an R2 zone located at 135 Elliot Street. Counselor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of board, Mr. Clerk, Attorney John McCluskey, representing the petitioners. We're here before you tonight on requesting a variance similar to what we requested back in 2020, which was approved by the Board of Appeals. A little bit of history in this case. This property was all commonly owned and is now divided by an LLC that owns this property and LLC that owns this property. Back in 2020, when we came before the board, the petition was relative to this lot, which is Lot B. That was requiring a variance due to the lot width and some of the setbacks, I believe, Mr. Faria. And what we showed here was three separate units here. And do you have that plan on the? Okay, so that's a small plan. We don't have the larger plan. On Lot A, which is a conforming lot, which we could do 3 units as right. We actually showed 3 units. Unfortunately, in my memo, I think I mentioned a total of 5 units. So what we were looking for in the application was simply a variance for this lot, because this lot is as of right. However, we were looking for some relief because we needed some extra parking, which we were able to basically acquire on the entire parcel, including parcel C. So this matter came before the planning board on site plan tech review not too long ago, a couple of months ago. And it was noted at tech review that although you showed 6 units on the plan, the decision actually came out and said 5 units. And I'm not placing any blame. The blame probably should have been on me for not recognizing that it said 5 at the time. So we're back here basically to try to clarify that situation. We've been going on for 2 or 3 years now through the various Concom tech review, and we're finally ready to go. We actually changed the design of this home. This is now going to be a 3-family home. It went further this way. And the reason is that there's a gas line that comes in, which really we couldn't easily move. So we changed this, what was a 3-family, that spread out a little bit, 2 townhouse kind of designs, 2 being in one unit, and then there was sort of a separate 1-unit townhouse to the left. So now it's a basic 3-family, and it's pulled back towards the west considerably to give that to let that easement, the gas easement, stay in place. The hardship, which was approved by the Board of Appeals back in 2020. The board found that plot 35-1 located at 135 Elliot Street has unique shape, size, topography relative to other properties in the surrounding neighborhood, has city sewer easement that bisects the west end of the plot. Scott, could you point that sewer easement out?
Sure. The sewer easement goes from Elliot Street in a southerly direction.
So that was part of the hardship that the board approved. Bisects the west end of the plot and Trout Brook with wetlands that affect the plot at the east end of lot of 114, 156,000 square foot lot. Basically, as this being a residentially zoned, it sort of looks commercial. And what we'd like to do is improve on that, put in the residential units, and make it more conforming with the rest of the neighborhood. So because it has that commercial look, and we'd like to turn it into a residential look, that would make it much more attractive in the neighborhood. Interestingly, the board, several years ago, approved a similar project across the street that I don't think has been built upon. So the request is quite similar to what the board approved in 2020. The fact that the decision said 5 units, it brings us back here tonight because we've always been thinking 6 units, and quite frankly, it just slipped by when the decision was rendered. Had I noticed that, I probably would have appealed it and straightened it out at the appeal by agreement. However, here we are tonight, and we're looking for a total of 6 units. These 3 units are by right. These 3 units are by variance. These 3 units were approved by the Board of Appeals back in 2020. And the hardship is basically the same that the board approved back in 2020.
All set.
Thank you.
Board members, any questions? I have a question on the original granting several years ago as it relates to the one that we're seeing tonight. The house that is nearest to the river, is that further from the river in this latest one from the original one?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chairman. And as Attorney McCluskey said, the main reason is there's a gas service that comes right through the property to serve 135 Elliot Street. That was really the main reason why the project hasn't been built in the couple of years since we received your approval, planning and conservation approval, was trying to move the gas service to be able to build the building that was approved by all 3 boards. Finally, it was determined that moving the gas just wasn't an option, so Mr. Morrissey came up with this new design for this 3-unit building that'll basically be a 3-story building. Unit on the first floor, unit on the second floor, unit on the third floor. So we did push it westerly from the river.
So the other building to the left as we look at is the original building?
Exactly.
Now, what about the parking situation for this and the banner company in the rear?
Yep. So as you recall, we went through your process, went through planning, went through conservation. So we do have a proposed parking lot between our proposed buildings and the Banner Systems building. So we have 18 spaces, residential spaces proposed for the 6 units. And then the rest of the parking, and there is quite a bit of parking. The parking area goes all the way down westerly, kind of parallel to Elliot Street. So there's, we didn't even count the number of spaces, but there's another 40 or 50 spaces on site for the Banner Systems.
So if you came in off Elliot Street and took a right, you're in a C2, and that parking in there would be for the Banner System?
Correct.
All the parking up front is for the apartments?
Exactly.
What are you going to do to separate the apartments from the commercial in the rear?
We do have a fence proposed right at the back of our parking lot, a 6-foot stockade fence. Right.
And my last question, and then I'll open, oh, I see you got a dumpster that's over on the left-hand corner of the parking lot.
Correct.
And that dumpster is to serve only the apartments?
That's correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Members, any questions? Everybody's good? Yep. Okay, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public hearing, and I will now open it up for deliberation by the board members. Board members, they are asking for a variance, so consider the requirements of a variance. This was before us once before, and it was approved.
Could I, Mr. Chair, could I just go back to their hardship for a second to just have them restate, if you don't mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
Attorney McCluskey, would you mind just going over the hardship one more time?
Going over the what?
The hardship.
Sure. So there's
Counselor, if you can use the microphone.
Take the microphone.
Counselor, can you use the microphone, please?
Put it around my neck. This is in residentially zoned, and it looks commercial. And so that, in and of itself, I think, to bring it back into a residential look and feel and make it fit within the neighborhood, I think that's part of the hardship. We've got residential property that we can't use for commercial purposes, so we want to use it for residential purposes. The only relief, by the way, this is by right. This building is by right. So the only relief we're really looking for is here. Back in 2020, the board found that the lot was of unusual shape, size, soil conditions, and topography. It was also affected by Trout Brook and the easement that runs here, so that's sort of difficult to use the entire property. Now we also have the gas easement that comes in through here. So I think we've got an unusual situation, and the board, enough?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, looking around the rest of the neighborhood, it is all residential. So it certainly does fit, in my opinion.
Motion approved.
Second.
There were no stipulations that we talked about on this, just as it was presented.
If there were, I don't think there were any on the 2020, so.
Just asking the board.
But we would
We didn't.
stipulate to that.
We did not. I mean, I'm okay with the way the frontage looks to me. I mean, and the way the driveway comes into that parking lot.
They told us there's going to be a fence and green space between the
Yeah.
commercial, which they have to do, so.
Yeah, so that, I don't have anything other than that.
I'd just like to get that on the record.
Yep,
that's all.
understood.
All right, so a motion has been made, is it, or have we?
Me and Sweeney.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus,
Yes.
Chief Nardelli,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry,
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Thank you.
5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition as presented is granted. What do you want? Okay.
Do you want my jacket? Because I'm like cooking right now. All right, moving on. I didn't realize that was you.
That was good. 135 Elliot Street, that's good. All right. All right, the next petition is 2452. The petition of AGAP Day Health Center, care of Phil Nezarella, 1063, attorney Phil Nezarella, 1063 North Main Street, Brockton, Mass., seeking relief from Section 2729 for an adult day facility in a C2 zone located 365 Westgate Drive.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and the esteemed members of this board. For the record, Attorney Philip Nasrallah, representing Agape Life Day Health Center. The term, I pronounce it the same as the chairman of the board initially. The correct pronunciation is agape, which is a Greek word meaning love, embracement, mutual respect, and caring for each other's. And so if you didn't study Greek or you're not a romanticist, we both would probably not catch it at the beginning. However, agape.
Thank you for the education.
You're welcome.
I apologize.
In any event, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this particular Adult Day Health Center is designated to provide care and companionship for those who need supervision and assistance during the day, usually catering to the older and more mature sector of our societies, hence the reason these types of organizations have become more popular and in demand. Not only do they serve a significant purpose in assisting that segment of the population, but it also offers a degree of respite in time alone for the families from which they come from, allows them to continue their workday, do their chores at home, and then receive these particular family members later in the day. And the organization specializes in a number of activities, especially wherein we found, or science has found, that this passive relaxation, sitting in front of a TV during the course of a day, is actually more detrimental for the mental state of well-being as well as for the physical state of well-being. So these particular organizations work towards physical interchange and exercise, mental stimulation, games and activities, keeps them pretty much busy throughout the whole course of the time that they are there during the day. The organization is also made up of a group of registered nurses, social workers, recreational activity specialists, program assistants, food prep. It's a full staff of individuals who are professionals and dedicated towards attaining the goal of assisting these individuals from that portion of society that need that assistance, giving them and providing for them a better, healthier, and enriching life. The hours of operation for this particular organization would be Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The clients would be delivered by limousine or by bus service, a bus limousine service, in the morning, and they would be retrieved in the afternoon. In fact, we have with us this evening one of the principals of the organization, Ms. Patel, who is a registered nurse, together with the building owner that's here, if there are any questions on the physical structure. You all may be familiar with 365 Westgate Drive. It's a magnificent brick building in the center of that roadway, a little bit past Dick's. This location of this facility would be on the second floor, which is reached by the rear, wherein the rise in the hill leads into the entranceway into the second floor. It's all handicapped access. The building has a fire suppression system for its safety. The services would provide medication management. This is all doctor referral, physician referral that come to this particular facility. They have professional supervision, and as stated earlier, social activities to keep these people engaged and involved. It's pretty straightforward. I will be happy to entertain any questions or inquiries if you may have any.
Mr. Chair, if I could, so it's the second floor only for this?
Correct.
What is on the first floor?
I think there was some vacancies. That was where Central Music was, and there was some accountants. I don't know if there's any occupancy right now, but it's unrelated to what's going on the second floor.
That was Brockton Public Schools. The lease ended August.
Oh, okay. Okay, they had the whole first floor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any idea of how many parking places are going to be required for this use?
Well, again, all of the participants will be bussed in, and there'll probably be about 5 or 6 buses, and the staff is probably 20 people. So there'll be a maximum of 20 vehicles, maybe less if they share a ride or they come in on some other means. that sound correct?
Okay, I believe the requirement is one parking space per employee.
Well, again, there's 20 employees, so we'd call it 20 parking spaces.
Looking at the plans and visiting the site, it appears as though there is sufficient parking up there.
A large amount of parking, Mr.
Large amount
Chairman.
of parking. I do want to make a comment that the standard size of parking spaces is 180 square feet. All of the parking that's indicated on this plan is 162 square feet. So the size of the parking is deficient. However, the volume of parking, I believe, is more than enough. But just to bring that out, that according to the dimensions on these plans, all of the parking spaces are undersized.
Correct. That, as you know, Mr. Chairman, that parking lot has existed for many, many years, and that was perhaps the dimensions back then. I don't think it's been changed since then.
I think back then, when you and I were kids, we used to have cars with great big trunks, and they were very long, and that's when you needed 180
Everybody's
square
in
feet.
undersized cars now, so it all works out.
So for the edification of the board, this is a special permit, and I think our duty tonight is to determine whether this is an appropriate use for that location. There is no hardship required for this one.
That is correct, and I may add to show, to demonstrate that the use would not be detrimental to the surrounding neighborhood, and again, I don't think that factor would exist.
As far as the hours of operation, under a special permit, we have the ability to set the hours, and it may be well to put some kind of hours here. You're talking 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Saturday.
Correct.
Would it make sense to make it, say, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. so that there's a little bit of wiggle room here?
That's fine, Mr. Chairman. I inquired about that earlier and did suggest that it be stretched, and if they don't use it, they don't use it. So
Exactly.
I would ask the board for 8 to 5 p.m.
So we're talking no Sunday operation.
That's correct.
Very good. Board members, any questions?
I just have a question with the population of clientele that you'll be dealing with. Do you plan on making a more safe drop-off point? Right now, it's not really set up with the parking spaces the way they are, so there's a safer access in and out.
Well, we're talking about coming in from the rear.
From the rear, yes.
And they exit the vehicle and they walk into the door. I'm not quite sure what the concern is on the safety.
So I'm assuming if that's the case, most of the participants are mobile? They're not going to be in wheelchairs or anything like that?
No.
It's a very tight space once cars start parking there. So just something to consider.
Well, I'm sure that will be addressed because it's all reviewed by the state, and they have strict compliance with safety, people alighting from a vehicle, getting into a vehicle, and that will be addressed. It's a good point.
Building inspector, would you have something to say about that before the occupancy permit's given out?
Not necessarily. If they restripe the area, we'd be looking at handicap parking possibilities and sizes of spaces. But unless they did the restriping or affected the parking lot, just a use change, not even a use change really for building code purposes, we wouldn't.
So what we're hearing from the petitioner is he's telling us that there will be provisions made for safe drop-off of the, and I would think the state is going to have something to say about that. State inspectors? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions from board members? Everybody's good? I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the audience tonight that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. I will now open it up for deliberations among the board members. Board members.
I think it's a suitable use for the location for a special permit.
I think, I mean, over the years, there used to be a dialysis center across the back side of it towards, I don't know, even, it may still be there. I mean, there's always been comings and goings. I think, too, that you're going to see traffic in the morning, traffic in the afternoon. I think to Ms. Greenberry's point, I think, the state's going to really have to look at that to see what they got to do. That's not in our purview. I think it's a great use for the property. I think it's a, I think you're going to see more of this. As people are living longer, places to go for folks in the afternoon and morning when they're in their elder
The ordinance
states.
was changed when apparently it used to be a hardship requirement on a variance, but now it has been lessened to a special permit. And the building is fully sprinkled also.
I make a motion to grant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant with the stipulation that the hours that are granted by the board are from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Correct? Okay, that's what we're voting on. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nadelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Thank you.
Vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted. The next petition, 2453, the petition of Patrick O'Brien, 74 Brewster Drive, Bridgewater, Mass., seeking relief from Section 27.9 and 27.25 to construct 5 residential units in an R1C zone located at 1003 Crescent Street.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, again, Attorney Philip Nazarella for the record, representing the applicants in this application. This application seeks permission from the board to have 5 residential lots in a residential district. The location of the property is just about on the Whitman-Brockton line. We're dealing with about 3.5 acres of underused land that's been undeveloped. It's in a large rectangular sector, and the ambition is to create 5 residential lots. Again, in these lots, the unusual positive aspect is that perhaps the way it's been laid out, 90% compliant with what the code would be. In the past, there had been various options and designs and proposals for these lots, ranging from 7 to 8 lots. We looked at this and felt we wanted to scale it down so not only it would be 90% compliant, where you have 30,000 square foot lots and one of them's 43,000, they now, in this proposed version, exceed just about all of the other lots in the neighborhood. The frontage, as opposed to 175, is 125 feet. Far from being a disrespectful amount of frontage. But the interesting and extremely positive aspect about the layout, each house is going to be a minimum of 60 feet from the next house. So it's not going to be a crowded area. It's going to be a well-designed. They're going to have upscale homes there. And what we are seeking is the variance, because Lot 1 will be non-conforming, and we created that design after meeting and interchanging with the planning department. And the other 4 homes won't require setbacks. It was simply looking for relief from the frontage and on the frontage, basically. Again, they are 90% compliant with what the code requirements are. Now, to respond to what's always that looming question, what is the hardship? What would justify the variance? If you one notes on the road for Butler Street, we're going to have to develop that. It's currently an undeveloped strip. In order to develop that road, which is about 700 feet, and my understanding from various contractors, the going rate is about $1,300 a foot in development. We're talking over $900,000 just to put in the road. In addition, because of the topographical level of the road, we're going to have to add about 10,000 feet of materials in order to rise the road, in order that we can angle it down for drainage into the sewers. So we're talking a little over $1 million just to place in the road. If we were to suggest anything less than the lots that exist before you, it would not be financially feasible or practical to do any development here, and it would just be left vacant. The addition of this road, too, also offers access for the adjoining religious institution, the Baptist church that is there. They'll have access for that road and able to access and egress Butler Street. So I do believe, and I suggest, it's a well-designed, well-thought-out plan. It's going to be developed by the principals behind me, Mr. Pat O'Brien and Lou Porter, who have been in the contracting business for many, many years, have developed a lot of fine residential structures, and I trust these structures will be equally well done as all their other properties that they've done outside of Brockton and in the city of Brockton. With that, I would ask for your input, suggestions, and also favorable view and vote on this proposal. If there are any questions, myself and Mr. Scott Farrier would be pleased to respond.
Have you decided where the hydrants are yet? I have a
Right at the end of the...
Is that the only one on the street?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, there's one. Yeah, I believe there's one in front of the neighboring house.
Out on Crescent?
Yes, exactly.
Hydrants on the north side of Crescent Street.
Yeah, because they're supposed to be on the north and east sides of the streets, but is there any reason why there wasn't a thought to put it on the north side of the street so it's not at the very end of the cul-de-sac?
None at all. We can certainly do that.
Well, I mean, we have a long-standing policy in the city of Brockton, which a lot of contractors just completely disregard, of putting all our hydrants on the north and east sides of the street. That's why they're all silver bonnets. That's why they're all black barrels. I mean, we have a certain way of doing things. That's why. So it just kind of, it's concerning. This is a dead-end main, I'm sure, anyways.
It is.
Which is terrible. I mean, it is what it is. So you're going to get, they're now putting the hydrant at the end of it. You will get nothing out of that. That'll be a useless hydrant if it's down there. You see what I'm saying, Scott?
We'll certainly move it if we get to the definitive.
Okay. As far as the lot sizes, Mr. Nazarelli, you talked about them being oversized now. Well, they're oversized because they go way to the back, correct?
That's correct.
But the frontage still is the looming concern on the other.
Looming, I don't know. I mean, it's 125 feet, Chief, which is far greater than all of the other frontage in the area. I think it's a respectful frontage. It's not, we build houses on 50-foot frontage, 75. This is 125, a mere 50 feet short.
But these are new. These are new. I mean, a lot of the ones we work with what we have, these are new lots being put in, where if you took a lot out, you would have fine frontage with everything else. I get what you're saying about the cost of the road, which again is concerning because it's not very wide. I have concerns about the width of the road because people are going to park on that road. I'm airing my thoughts as I look at this plan. I looked earlier, I drove down there. Am I right? What's the width of that?
28 feet of pavement.
28 feet in total. With, like, that says sidewalk, with sidewalk, okay.
Correct.
I think there's no show of what I don't see anything in the paperwork of what the houses are going to be. Do we know where the houses, like, I'm not where they're going to be, what kind of make of house? Are these going to have garages? Are these going to have?
They would be a typical 4-bedroom colonial with a 2-car.
With a 2-car garage. All right, so more than likely, people will be parking
on their property.
driveway. Okay. I just have to think about fire trucks getting down there. That cul-de-sac will be an issue to get around. If people are parked on the street, that's a bigger issue. All right. All right. And when you go to the hardship, right, just as a question, we talk about this all the time. We talk about shape, soil, topography, all that stuff. What you're stating is the topography is creating a problem that you have to bring the grade up to be able, and which the topography is creating the hardship that's creating a financial hardship that's not really a hardship, it's a financial hardship, but the topographical component of this, that's what you're stating.
That is correct.
Hardship is. Okay.
That drives the cost and the expense in order to build this in a compliant way.
Okay. All right, that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
So what is the topographical hardship?
Well,
Relatively flat land.
it's flat land, but the depth of it, in order to make it compliant and pass muster, has to be brought up. And perhaps Pat okay.
If I may, Chief, because it is relatively flat, and to get the drainage to work, there is an off-site wetland that we would be draining towards. So in order to do that, we have 12-inch pipes, 3.5 feet of cover over the pipe, so we need to bring in essentially 5 feet of fill in order to drain the property, to drain the roadway.
So the drainage would go towards that wetland in Whitman?
Correct, to the back. A portion of it is on our property, the wetland does.
So you're proposing a detention basin on Lot 3?
Correct.
I too have a concern about the width of the street. And I know probably some of this belongs with planning, but a 28-foot wide street with parking does not allow for much room for passage on that street. In the wintertime, when the street is plowed and the windrows are 2 feet off of the edge stone, the street gets even narrower. Are you proposing to put granite edge stone on the street, or is this Cape Cod berm? What's going on the street?
We have vertical granite curbing, sure.
Vertical granite curbing. Do we have a definitive plan on this from planning?
A preliminary plan.
Preliminary.
Yes.
So my concern here is tonight that if we grant some of this stuff, that when it goes to the definitive subdivision, a number of these things can get changed. I'm getting very concerned that in these circumstances, that what we're voting on can be amended. And quite frankly, if I'm told that we're going to have vertical granite edge stone and then it gets changed to Cape Cod berm, there's always the possibility that me, as one member, would not vote for Cape Cod berm. That can happen. On a 28-foot wide street, if anybody ever parked on both sides of that street, you would never get into that street. A regular street is what, 34 feet?
No.
And a 50-foot layout.
Everywhere in the area, Chief, everybody builds 24-foot roads. Nobody builds 32 or 34-foot roads anymore. Everybody, the reason Brockton subdivision rules and regs call for 34 feet was the 24-foot travel way, which you folks require on site plans and on commercial property. A 24-foot travel way, and then 8 or 10 feet for parking. Back in the day when people did not have garages and big driveways. Nowadays, with essentially 6 spaces for each house lot, people don't park on the streets in new subdivisions. It's a 2-car garage.
How do you get 6 spaces for each house?
Oh, it's a 2-car garage, and it's a 24-foot wide driveway. That's set back 35 feet.
I don't even.
So you're telling the board that there's room for 6 cars to be parked at each location?
Sure, yes.
This is the only one I have.
So that's the reason. So every new subdivision that you see built anywhere.
I just find it hard to believe that we will be allowing a 28-foot street when all the streets that I'm used to are well over 30, 32 feet in width.
All the streets that were constructed way back in the day, I agree.
What about the new subdivisions that we've been approving? They're not 28-foot streets.
28 feet. Most of them are 28 feet. It's the standard in the industry.
I'm shocked to hear that. And if I missed it, shame on me. But I think a 28-foot street now is a very narrow street. And also, you're talking here a 5-foot sidewalk. In all of these other subdivisions, we're talking a paved sidewalk with a grass strip between the sidewalk and the vertical curb, and that probably takes, what, 6 to 8 feet? This is 16 feet, plus the width of the roadway. I always thought we were looking at a 50-foot roadway layout.
You are correct with the new layout. This is an existing roadway layout. So Butler Street is an existing roadway layout that we are improving. So it's a 40-foot existing layout. There's a series of them. There's one below us, that's Caroline Street. There's more further up. So it's essentially a paper street that we're improving. But
So
it's a current 40-foot layout.
You're telling the board that basically Butler Street is like a grandfathered street?
Essentially, yes. It's a paper street that was approved in a subdivision plan back in the 1800s. That was laid out in a subdivision plan and not constructed.
Interesting. Now, the other comment that the houses are over 60 feet apart, that is not true between Lot 5 and Lot 4. The houses are 47 feet apart. The other thing that we need to bring out is the fact that the frontage is on the developed portion of the street. That last Lot 5, you're showing 168 feet. The developed portion that's in front of that is quite a bit shorter than that. If you take the probably 90 feet away from the 168, and that would give you your frontage for that house. You're aware of that? Okay. In the brief, it says that the request tonight is to construct 5 residential homes. I just want to make sure that we understand you're constructing 4 residential homes, and 1 is an existing home.
Correct.
And that existing home, which is on Crescent Street, encompasses this entire lot. So you're actually making that lot, yeah, we're making it non-conforming, I guess we're going to call it, because now we've chopped up the lots in back to make individual lots. I understand they're 30,000 square feet. I really do have a concern with that narrow street. That, as an engineer who lays this out, is it possible to make that street wider? I don't understand why you can't when you own all the property on the east side of Butler Street. Why can't you, as the developer, make that street wider by taking land that you own on the east side of Butler Street?
We could add 10 feet to it.
You could.
To make it 50 feet, sure.
I mean, if you're asking for a variance for relief, if you came in with a 29,000 square foot lot because you're going to take some land away from that, is that worth bargaining for to get a street that is more public safety-wise, a much safer street? You know, you take these houses over here that have a party and a whole bunch of people show up and you see what happens on the street. I mean, I'm talking from a practical point. I see this around the city. So, and
I agree, 50-foot layout would be better. We would still go to the planning board and ask for the pavement to be 28 feet. 32 and 34 feet just isn't done anymore, so we would still ask for that waiver.
okay, well, I guess I have to defer to what you're telling me, but I just, the streets that I'm familiar with are not 28 feet wide. I just find that in all of the developments that we have approved, that you have been here with us on, you're telling us that all of those developments had a 28-foot wide street?
Yes. The ones that I've done, yes.
Yeah.
One off of North Carey Street that Scott Burgess built on the old curtain factory.
So,
the old Curtin Lane.
how about the Connie property that we talked about?
I don't know, to be honest with you, I didn't do those two. I think, I forget the names, the Lodi Lane, I believe,
Yeah.
is 28 feet. The other one, the older one, I believe that one is 32 or 34 feet. The Lodi Lane, the one that's currently under construction, is 28 feet.
All right, well, I don't want to prolong it, but I'm just very concerned that 28 feet is very, very narrow, particularly if two cars park on, or if you have cars staggered on both sides, you just can't get down the street.
I think to that point too, Mr. Chairman, and you speaking of North Cary, I can think of the extension of Cypress. I am amazed at the amount of people who park in the street. A lot of people park in the street. I don't know why. So there is, the reason I say it, I've driven up there and thought to myself, wow, it looks narrow, I think because it's people parking the street, but again, to your point, you're probably looking at your thought of a wider layout, the 28 feet, like you said you've been doing, and it changes the makeup of the road. Not that that's what we're here necessarily to discuss, but.
I'm looking at it from
I
a
agree.
public safety issue.
I agree, yep.
And
Anyway, all right.
to your point, Chief, and to support Mr. Farrier, who does a lot of these, more than all of us, if that's the trend and it's 28 feet, it's 28 feet, but we're willing to work with whatever we have to work with. But your concern also about when we go back to definitive subdivision, one of the primary purposes that the zoning board is comprised of a member from the planning board is so when he returns back there, he returns with what the concern and the comments are from this board. So those things are unlikely to slip out and get a change from what you were intending or the board collectively was intending.
Well, that is why, in my decision, I specifically referenced the plans, the date that we are voting on tonight. So if a plan gets changed, then that's not the plan that we voted on. And I'm very concerned that in a preliminary subdivision approval, that when it goes to a definitive subdivision, things can change. And it's out of our hands.
Correct.
And if I knew what the definitive subdivision was, it may have influenced my vote. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
And I'm just commenting to balance that off is why we have a member from the planning board.
Understood. All right, board members, we all set? I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? You want to speak in opposition?
Yes, Chief.
Okay. Please give your name to the clerk.
It's Ralph Smith, 1019 Crescent Street. I've been in a butter since 1987. I have a problem with the plan because, I don't know, I can't blame the gentleman for it, but on the city's website, they have his application, and they have a plot plan on there, and this plan is not on there, so I came here tonight with information, asking questions about the plot plan that's on the city's website, and this is a completely different plan, so I can't say that much about that. I don't know how that happened, but I think a lot of people were commenting on the existing plot plan that they had before. I haven't seen this. It's not on their website. The only thing that I can bring up is on the application, I don't know if it was intentional or it was just had a problem with it. If you look, has any previous appeal to the Zoning Board of Appeals been made for this property? And what they say is that no, that the matter was withdrawn. I'm of the opinion that you look at a variance for the property, not the individual that comes forward. Knowing this property like I have, there's been about anywhere from 4 to 8 people have gone for a variance on this property in the last 30 years.
I have 5.
You have 5? I said 4 to 8. I mean, it's in there. But I can't comment on it, unfortunately, because I didn't have a chance to look at that plan, and that's unfortunate. But that's about all that I have to say against it. Thank you.
My only comment is I would not know who filed when over the past 10, 15 years I was referring to.
Unless you research it.
Correct.
Yeah. Does the plan that he's referring to show the one with the cul-de-sac at the end?
Yes.
Yeah, so there was a change made here. That's not the one before us tonight, but there was another one out there, if I remember right. Yes.
Yes, previously, but like I said, so I go to the website. As a matter of fact, I went to the building department today because I looked at his letter, and his cover letter alludes to 30,000 square foot lots, one lot's 43,500. So I look at the plot plan that comes along with it, and I say, hey, there's nothing that indicates that to me, so therefore I'm saying there's a lot of discrepancies here.
You are correct.
So I say to myself, it's kind of a tough situation that I'm thrown into because I was coming here to talk about this particular plan, and I don't know how that happened. It wasn't on the website. Obviously, it was an oversight by somebody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak in opposition?
Peter Beals. I am representing the church that was mentioned earlier, the Baptist church that abuts the property on two portions. I'm only representing in the sense that there's a number of us here from the church tonight, and we just wanted to have one person speak, but I'm with the church. In addition to that, we did not receive any notification, though we own the two parcels that abut it the most. We received no notification about tonight's hearing except by the word of neighbors who came to us very recently. And so that's why we are here. It's not in our DNA as people to oppose what others do with their own private property. We're not busybodies. We're not seeking to weigh in with opinions on how other people use their property. But here we are with a proposal that, as far as I understand it, and I have not seen the plans, but as far as I understand it, we're here because there is the seeking of a variance from the existing ordinance related to the zoning of R1C, as I understand it. Earlier tonight, the Elliot Street property, we've been sitting here for a long time, Elliot Street property won an argument that the hardship was due to the residential look of the neighborhood would be at stake if the variance was not given. I would argue exactly the opposite. It is, in this case, it is R1C zoned, and though I guess it's materially close to that, this would detrimentally affect, we believe, the neighborhood and the residential feel of the neighborhood. Not that it's not residential, but the density, perhaps, of the neighborhood. Again, we're not against change, and we're not trying to dictate what others do. But when asked, are we supportive of this variance for this purpose, we have some concerns. The hardship that was described by the gentleman earlier was that in order to fit this many homes in, you would have to purchase, if I followed it correctly, you would have to build a road at a high cost. Understandable. But I don't understand what the board sees night after night. But to me, that seems not so much like a hardship as in order for this proposal to be profitable, that's the necessary preliminary step. Therefore, it's expensive in order to make that happen. As I had read earlier in preparation for this, the Zoning Board of Appeals hardship definition, that's not something that struck. I do understand the word topography is being used, but it doesn't seem to me to fit the definition, as we saw earlier with the person with the ramp and that kind of thing. They mentioned earlier the egress that the church would perhaps gain through the road that would be built. Again, Butler Street is, as the gentleman mentioned, there's woods and dirt and stones there. There's no road there. It is a paper street, meaning it's on maps, as the gentleman mentioned, laid out in the 1800s and approved, I guess, for building. But right now it's the woods. We own one side of it, and this property would be building on that, on the road in between our property and theirs and all of that. But as for the church's opinion on the matter, as the immediate abutters, the egress is not attractive to us at all. The egress to us sounds more like a place where cars could come onto our property. What we oppose, again, on the density side of it is, we do have a large piece of property, which we do use for the church and the community, you know, to the degree that the church reaches into the community, and it is in fact private property. If the population density is very thick right there in our backyard, our yard becomes their yard. We love children, we love people, we love dogs, but that does introduce things that, you know, we're not presently, that is not presently part of our property, and I think I represent our neighbors as well with some of that. So we oppose the idea, so.
Okay, thank you. And just as a clarification on our notification to abutters, there was a notification that went to Emmanuel Baptist Church, 92 Alger Street, and also Elizabeth Street.
Okay, those are the two that we own, so.
So
okay.
The notification went out.
All right.
Yeah.
We did not receive it, but, I mean, something else might have happened. That's good to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone has any elected official in the room that has a comment relative to tonight's testimony? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the room who has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That would conclude the public discussion. I'll now open it up for board members. Board member discussion.
I know we're not voting on the size of the street because it's got to go back before planning, but I think I have concerns about the road. I have concerns about, you know, we talked and Mr. Ferrier said they could clean a lot of those things up, maybe in planning with the hydrant. I know that 30,000, the frontage is a different story, the topographical issues. I know they have to bring in fill, so there's a topographical issue, but I think it turns out in the end it's really a financial hardship to be able to sell that many lots. Reducing the size of lots changes the frontage, and then they're not in the same pickle they were before. Those are just my thoughts. I don't really have anything else to say about that.
I just wish the petitioner would have given us a rendering of what they think would be built on that property. It does help sometimes make a decision.
Motion to grant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanez?
Yes.
Chief Nardelli?
No.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry?
Yes.
Chair Callaghan?
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 3 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative.
The vote is 3 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. The petition as presented is denied. We are going to take a 5-minute break. Zoning board is back in operation after a short recess. The next petition before us is 2454, the petition of Hariam Realty LLC, 50 Christie's Drive, Brockton, Mass., for a special permit to construct an addition to existing hotel by adding 40 rooms with 4 floors in a C5 zone located at 50 Christie's Drive. This is a special permit.
Correct. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, again for the record, Philip Nezarella representing the applicant this evening. That is, as stated, seeking to extend the hotel by adding 40 rooms over 4 floors. And you are aware that this is the hotel on 50 Christie Drive, an existing hotel that's been in operation for approximately 20 years. And during those 20 years, operated and managed by Mr. Jay Patel, who's here with us this evening, the chief managing officer of that hotel. They've been absent of any violations, any issues throughout that tenure. These hotel rooms will be classic hotel rooms for overnight stays. Based on some concerns on unrelated matters, these will not contain kitchenettes. They will not be built in for long stays. Simply come in one night, leave the next night. There is sufficient parking, so we do not need relief from the parking. The unit that will be constructed will be connected to the primary unit of the hotel by a walkway. And basically, it's pretty much straightforward from that. An addition of simply 40 rooms. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to entertain them.
Mr. Chair, if I may? So we've been seeing an uptick in hotels in the area. Can we put some context as to why? I mean, in its traditional sense, I think that might better understand kind of a little boom we're having.
Well, Mr. Patel may be, I don't know the residents that are in there. They seem to...
Yeah, especially we have...
Counselor, if you can give them the receipt, the
Up to the
microphone, please.
We have existing hotel in only 63 rooms, so in especially May to October, weekends pretty much full. So that's why we need some additional room.
So your current hotel in its traditional use is booked solid most of the time? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, May to October.
Okay. And you need the expansion for your operating?
Yes.
Current operation? Okay.
This would come under the no address, no more than 29, how many days? I can't remember off the top of my head.
60, we had one for 90 and one for 60, but one was like for a different purpose, if I remember correctly. We had two different ones.
The last one was
A 90.
extended stay hotel.
This is not.
Right.
No, this is a traditional hotel.
Traditional hotel.
Correct.
Yeah. The biggest difference in the hotel industry is the kitchenette that are terming as relative. If you have the kitchenette, then you can have the extended stay, where somebody contract working for 30 days or 60 days. These units don't have the kitchenette.
And this will remain a one in, one out night, 2 nights. This won't be leased by anybody or anything to that effect.
No.
It's only daily purpose.
Mr. Patel, could you come up to the microphone and assure us that no one will be leasing this hotel from you?
Sorry. It's only day by day, only daily purpose.
Daily purpose. Won't be leased by an organization, the state of Massachusetts?
No.
Okay.
What is it, an average, like your customer, why are they a customer?
We have mostly corporate customer. And
Corporate customers?
Yes.
Okay. What would be a secondary customer?
Tourist.
I'm sorry?
Tourist.
A tourist?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you define long stay?
Long stay, actually.
Come up closer to the mic.
Long stay, this is, we design only for daily purpose. We didn't design for long stay customer.
So if somebody stayed there for 2 or 3 nights, you wouldn't call that a long stay?
No.
Would you call somebody that stayed there for a week a long stay?
No. When they check in, they reserve the room for like 3 nights maximum or 4 nights, not more than that.
So is that I know we're splitting hairs here, but is that a policy of your hotel not to allow them, like how, if I showed up and I said I want to stay a month?
No, we don't.
You wouldn't allow me?
We don't allow.
What's the maximum I could stay at your hotel?
Week, like 7 nights.
And you would tell me that?
Yes, we tell them.
That is a policy of your hotel?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. I think it's the definition that we struggle with, because we've seen more of these lately, and we kind of...
By the way, as an antidote, the hotel doesn't accept any cash customers.
Yes.
Check or credit card.
Mostly major credit card or major debit card or only cash. No check, no cash.
Okay.
So I'll split hairs again. Can we stay 3 nights in room 304 and then 3 nights in 305? I mean, is that, it's probably a question you don't have an answer to, but I think the concern of the board is that what you're telling us, that somebody comes and stays there for 1 or 2 nights with no kitchenette, it's a traditional hotel stay. That's what I am envisioning.
And that's what we're projecting. Otherwise, we would tell you that because there are the hotels that put that out there, kitchenettes, that have been granted. We don't do that. That's not what his mission statement is for the operation of this hotel. So whether it's 3 nights or 5 nights, if a corporate business person's coming in, 6 nights, but he's not looking to develop what I think is a concern of the board.
The current hotel that's there now, is that similar to what you're proposing tonight? There's no kitchenettes, it's a short stay hotel?
Yes.
Okay.
Short stay means like daily purpose, daily.
And as a side note, what's the average occupancy of your current hotel? Is that
70%.
normally 70% full?
Correct.
Is that good for your industry?
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think this may draw more?
Yes.
And there's a demand for it?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Are you renovating other aspects of the hotel, other rooms, or this is just rooms that you're adding on? Are you renovating the other rooms?
I beg you, I didn't understand.
Are you renovating the current rooms that you have in the hotel?
No.
No. Okay.
How far away do you draw a customer into Brockton? So, are these people coming in from Logan and staying in Brockton, or what's the, what's that?
Yeah, we have most of people coming from, like a season coming from Logan as well,
Okay.
and internationally, interstate.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so there appears to be sufficient parking, and the parking stalls appear to be a regulation size based upon what's on this plan. It's a special permit. We have to determine whether it's an appropriate use for that location without detriment to the surrounding neighborhood. Any other questions? Everybody's good? All right. I will close that portion of the hearing. I will now open it up for public discussion. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official in the room that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given tonight? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That would conclude the public discussion. I'll now open it up for deliberation among board members. Board members.
It's good to see the construction is, kind of like in its traditional sense, without the kitchenette, and a traditional stay, a traditional use from a hotel that's been in business for 20 years, that's still operating in its, a hotel in its true sense, so.
I don't have a problem putting a couple of stipulations on here where they said it is not going to be a long-stay hotel and there are no kitchenettes. So if down the road they want to put kitchenettes in, they're going to have to come back before us.
I like that stipulation.
Pardon me?
I like that stipulation.
I think we should do that.
Okay.
You offered it.
Well, no, I didn't offer it. I just said it, that that's not their intention. I didn't offer it.
Well, it's offered now.
Is that based on the addition that they're adding only?
Pardon me?
Yeah, because that's
Is
all.
that based on the addition added only, right?
Yes, we're talking about what's before us tonight, yes.
Okay.
We can't change the other one.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm checking.
So the stipulation would be no kitchenettes and no long stay at the hotel.
I'll make a motion to grant.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded with those stipulations. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lannis.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition as presented is granted.
Thank you. All good?
That is the
Have a good night.
final case.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Waiting for Sweeney.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion's been made and
Second.
seconded to adjourn. The zoning board is adjourned.